I like your voices on bad.
My criminal mind is all I
It's early, so we're not even drunk. Ready?
really so bad. I am.
So we're just having
Monday.
fun. That is Gowan for those of you who are our age.
A little bit younger, because some
Little bit
people
younger.
from the 80s, you know, they were kind of born in the late 70s, early 80s, and they still feel like they're the 80s kids. But funny story about that song is that my mom, back in the day when this album came out, I wanted the cassette. So
The cassette.
the
For
cassette
you children, that's a form that you could listen to music on.
on your Walkman.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't let me buy it because of the song, because it's had the song Criminal Minds. So my brother had to step in and explain that it was not a bad song, and it actually wasn't about having a criminal mind. It was actually about having a good brain, and yeah, it was
Right.
very funny.
Yeah. So when we talk about mindset, I'm like, oh, what song? And I'm like, oh, Criminal Mind. Stacy's looking at Disney, and I'm looking at Mind of Murder.
We went in a little bit of an opposite direction, and we
Yeah.
decided on Criminal Mind from Gowan because we knew the song. So happy Monday. It's raining where we are,
But we still have coffee.
but that's okay. I hope you're having a good minute. And in Canada, it's a holiday.
Yay.
And everywhere else in the world, I don't think it is. So
No. What holiday is it? It's
In
a
Canada?
civic holiday.
this is the holiday that's very interesting for those of you who don't live in Canada. This is the one that's a different one across the provinces.
Yeah.
So I'm from Nova Scotia, so we called it Natal Day.
Hmm.
I don't know what that meant. And then I moved to Ontario, and they call it a civic holiday. Still not really sure what that means.
In Canada, the rule is you have to have one holiday every month. And August didn't have one.
I think they made it up.
They did.
Yeah. So if anybody knows, like, I don't even know honestly what this this holiday is, except it's in the middle of summer and we needed one.
Right.
That's all I can think of. So for those of you who are working today like us, I don't recognize holidays. And people in the US, I don't think do either.
No, we just work all the time. So we do. I mean, we have fun. We watched a movie last night for those of you guys. We watched a movie on Netflix called Desperados, which was so funny. Like we didn't stop laughing.
Just searching through, we're like, looks good, click.
They're going to Mexico and they're drinking. We were in. So anyways, that totally has nothing to do with mindset, but yes, it
well,
does.
you know what though? So for anybody who watched my Instagram live, my Instagram story this morning, I basically said it's raining, but what does that mean? It's a holiday. What does that mean? A movie. What does that mean? And it all depends on your mindset.
Right.
So I'm wearing yellow because I like to be bright on gray days.
And I'm wearing black because I always wear black. So anyway, so mindset. So why are we talking about that today? We're going to start a little bit of a series here over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And we're going to build on each one of the weeks that we're talking about the training. And nothing really works until you make sure you have the right mindset. And that's really why we wanted to start. You can delve really deep into mindset philosophies. There's a million books written. They're all very good. The challenge is on just really, it's very simple. It's number one is identifying what kind of mindset you have, because that's really what you have to work on before you can move forward.
So is it a mindset that you have, or is it a mindset that you need to have?
Well, I think first you have to identify what you have. Right.
Okay,
and that, so
There's
we're,
that.
we always start from, people think that they have, a certain mindset or they think certain ways. And then when you really, kind of dig into it, you realize sometimes that's what's holding you back. And really, I mean, the theory is essentially there's people that have fixed mindsets and people that have growth mindsets. And don't get me wrong, fixed does not mean that you're stubborn and you don't do anything and you're not willing to change.
Dodged a bullet on that one.
Fixed just means people with fixed mindsets have a tendency of thinking that their success is based on what they know, their skills and abilities they have right now. And that's it. And so they think that it's fixed. This is what I can do. This is how I can be successful.
So in a sense, almost putting themselves like in a box.
Yeah.
So this is my box. This is my wheelhouse. This is what I can do. Okay.
And so understand there's nothing wrong with being able to be successful is what you do. It's absolutely there, but let's take it a couple steps back. So when we talk about changing your expertise into something, whether it's online or coaching or something, I always tell everybody to use what they have because it's the easiest point of entry, right? And that's really a fixed mindset in terms of, I already know how to do this. I can teach it. I'm good, right? That's where you start. So here's the dilemma. If that's all you know, then that's fixed and you won't move forward. So you might know, we'll go back to my fishing because I always like to use fishing.
Can I just
Don't
just put a pin in the mindset thing for a second? What is it about fishing?
I have no idea because you guys know I'm vegetarian.
Well, that's the irony.
I don't fish, I don't hunt, and I don't know why. But it's kind of like, if you teach a person to fish, and that's what's always stuck in my head.
That's a good answer that way. We're going to teach you to fish today.
So if you know how to fish and you can teach somebody, people, that's fixed. They know they're good at it and they'll be able to do it. Here's where you need a growth mindset. You might not know how to deliver it, right? You don't know how to deliver that fishing teaching. So you need to understand that you can get better. You can be more successful if you learn something new, and that's a growth mindset. So that really means that if I learn how to put my programs online, if I learn how to record, if I learn how to coach, then that will get me more successful. And that's, and so we're kind of glossing over the negative mindsets for a minute.
Yeah, that's those out there, yeah.
Because we want to first understand that generally speaking, most people fall into one or the other of these as they move forward, right? So number one is you have to identify if you are there, right? Because most people that I work with, and probably that you work with, Stacy, is they have that fixed mindset where they know they have the ability to be successful, right? But they just don't think they can ever learn to do it online or do it in coaching or whatever. And so that's their.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can go the other way in a lot of different directions by the people who think that they can't.
Right. We're gonna get there.
But you're right. There's I have these skills, and I'm sorry, I don't know what Train Kids song I have. I think I can as he goes up the hill.
Yeah.
So that to me is making little steps and little progresses,
and that's the growth piece, right? So for most of us, if we're already pretty comfortable with our skill sets and abilities, and we can look at our excuses from the fixed mindset, right? Because the excuse will always be, I don't have any technology, right?
That's the word. That's literally the most common one. I'm not good at technology, therefore I can't.
Right. So it's, I don't have the technology. Remember, we always talk about this as we're training. I don't have the money and I don't have the time. Those are the three that get you every time, right? So we already talked about productivity before and how you can schedule your time in. So that's no excuse, right? We already talked about money because we give you free crap all the time, right?
And you can learn so much online. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And the tech part, while we shared with you a lot of different tools, absolutely free that you could go online. And we actually learned something new today, right?
Did we?
Canva.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
You want to talk about it, tech girl?
Well, I actually learned a few things this morning. I don't know what happened. I woke up on a Monday, I had coffee, and I went down a tech train, which is really cool. So sometimes I look at, so I'll talk about Canva in a second, but in regards to my mindset, I sometimes get into trouble because I have the opposite mindset. I think I can do anything.
Me too.
So can you? Yes.
Yes.
Do you know how? No. But I know I have the ability to learn how. So sometimes that gets me into a rabbit hole. I do draw the lines at plumbing, major plumbing, and electrical because my desire to do it, my desire to be electrocuted supersedes.
But so I had to change the toilet plumbing because I had no choice.
But that's minor plumbing. I'll do minor plumbing in regards to fixing handles and stuff like that. But when you get into like snaking and you get into like bigger, like changing pipes and I've turned water off for it.
But here's the thing. We both, just so you know, we both believe we could.
I could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I can go on YouTube. Like you went on YouTube and learned how to fix a dishwasher.
Yep.
Yeah, I went on YouTube and I learned how to change something on my refrigerator.
Yeah. That's a growth mindset. It means that we're starting from a place that says we can do anything. We just need to figure out how to do it. Right. There's some people that will start with a fixed mindset saying, no, I don't have the skills and abilities to be able to learn that. So I'm going to stay in my wheelhouse. And that's the difference. Right.
So what we learned on Canva this morning is they actually made a website. So you could literally go onto Canva and make a one-page or
it's really one page. It's
like a one-page sort of landing page website. And literally they have all kinds of templates, and all you have to do is go in, change your colors, change your pictures, and you're done.
And
like,
no,
really
just
cool.
Just so you understand, this is just like a pretty website, right?
Visual only.
Yeah, with your contact at the bottom. You can't really do anything else. But
yeah, there's no links and hyperlinks and forms like that. It's not a website builder. But it was really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah. So I played with it. Of course, I created one for myself, and I want to see if I bring that image over, what that looks like. But I'm trying to embed forms in a different site. So I had a lot of fun with tech this morning. Unfortunately, I have one stumbling block that will be fixed this afternoon because I ran out of time because I had to be here. And that's okay, because it's all about mindset and knowing that I can do it. It doesn't matter whether I take a break or when. And I think that's the other thing, that people feel pressure in the time frame, because like, well, if I don't figure it out in the first, say, 5 minutes, then I can't.
Right.
So where does that fit in? Because I find that puts a lot of people.
Well, I think so your entire mindset about learning new things have to change a bit too. And you have to be, we talk about being strategic and understanding your productivity models, right, too. So for example, if I look up, have to fix this toilet, and I'm looking it up and I'm like, this is going to take me 3 hours of my time. I have to go get the parts. I have to watch the videos as I do it, probably 4 hours by the time I actually fix the toilet, right? So so right then I know I can do it. I found the videos. I understand I can do it. Now you have to drill back and go, how much is that going to cost me to take 4 hours of my day to do it? Because if I say I make X amount per hour, if I work on my normal stuff, how much would a plumber cost to do it instead? Right. And so you have to be, your mind has to understand where you're going to put your efforts. So if I think that I can.
Sorry, my mom's emailing me a message saying that she doesn't remember stopping me from buying the song.
I believe Stacey. So
obviously she's watching. So that's mindset.
That's right.
I know I'm right.
So you have to really think about, what's the best use of your time, right? So, and again, that's not only time management and productivity, but it becomes, again, part of your mindset, because you have to really understand, okay, that's like when you're already at the, I can do anything if I just like, but
is there a point to doing everything? Absolutely. And that gets into time and money as well, because sometimes people make decisions like that based on the money. So what's it going to cost me? So I find that they don't separate things. When you do look at it, what's your time worth? Is it worth it for you to do it? They look at what it's going to cost me, not the opportunity that that's represented by the 4 hours that you've just gained back from not doing it. So that's an interesting frame of mind as well.
So we're talking about from the point that you already know you can do it, and you've already kind of identified that you're either fixed in that you really haven't let yourself out of the box, but you can, you just haven't let yourself out, and growth. But before even that, some people just have totally negative mindset.
Well, that can get really, really challenging. And like I said, with the can't, and I think I face that a lot when I do LinkedIn profiles, because I find I'll be like, oh, like, why haven't you told somebody how awesome you are? And then they go, well, and they really downplay their abilities. They downplay how they're explaining it. I said, so you're an award-winning fisherman. Yeah. Or fishing. And they're like, well, why would you say that? And I said, you've won awards for your fishing. You have like these big trouts or whatever, salmons on your
that you put on your wall.
And you've won awards for it. But it's interesting to think that all of a sudden when I say that, they're like, well, you can't put that out there.
Right.
They immediately, and I don't know whether it's negative or just closed, but their mindset is that they don't want to talk about some of their successes, right? Because they want to downplay it, and I'm not really understanding why.
Well, most of it comes back from a couple things. One is how you're raised, And so a lot of the times you don't even realize it, but it's how your family, your family didn't want you to talk about your accomplishments. Your family wasn't like that. And then there's, the polar opposite where, you encourage, your kids and your family to talk about it. So you have to identify, number one, is that part of it? Sometimes it's obviously how you're raised. Sometimes it's also, what you experience. So maybe at one time you said you felt real confident and you were out there, and then somebody kind of slammed you down, right? It's kind of like right now, if you do a YouTube video, you have haters. We talked about those before. So some people will quit, right? Once they get a negative anything, they'll quit, because even one negative voice, will be way overheard than all the people that think you're great. So
can it also come from experience? Like maybe the physicality of it, the fishing. Maybe I did a course and maybe I wasn't successful, and I tried again. I looked at a different, and I'm still not successful at fishing. Therefore, I'm done.
Yeah.
However, somebody taught me to fish, and I actually learned how to fish, and I caught this big trout or salmon or whatever. Now I'm like, okay, well, this is great. Now, if I can do that, then I can do more and do more. So
it's baby steps on anything, right? But it's like, I like to say this example because this makes it pretty real for people. About when I teach speaking, I always talk about how when we were children, we would come home from school and our parents generally would say, oh my God, you have to do a speech. I feel so bad for you, blah, blah, blah. Whereas when my kids came home and they would say, I have to do a speech, I'd be like, oh my God, that's awesome. What are you going to talk about? And get them pumped up. So I have 3 kids that are really good at speaking, right? There's no issues. So are yours, because we've taught them that it's good. So you might look back at some of how you were raised and say, okay, and it's not your parents' fault. Don't be blaming them, right? It's not your parents' fault. It's what you need to just identify where you're getting some of the, I can't do it, or I don't think I should be successful. A lot of it comes down to there's money issues. There's self-esteem issues. We are not therapists. We cannot help you with that. What we can say is that we know that you have to believe in yourself and have a mindset, not that I'm great, a mindset that you have the ability to learn and get better at things, and therefore you will be successful. There's a difference, right? Yeah. There's a big difference in that. So, think about all the things that you might have wanted to do, and why haven't you done it? Like, why haven't you taken the next step? Because most of the time you think, I can't, right? I'm never going to learn that. So I'll give you an example. I love motorcycles. And I finally decided to get my license, and it was like the worst weekend ever. It was a torrential downpour, and it was freezing cold, and it was really hard to do. And I was there all weekend, but I was determined, and I was really excited about it. Why? Because I just thought, this is something I want to do, and I knew I could do it. Like, there was no question in my mind. I knew that it as scary as it was, I was going to be able to learn how to do it. So I took the course, and I was doing really well. And then on the 3rd day, I guess, and there's a lot on riding, but the 3rd day I called up my friend whose bike I was on all the time, and I said, I don't really like this. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I can do it, and it's not that hard because I'm learning. They're teaching me step by step how to do it. But I said, I realized that I prefer to be on the back of the bike because I don't want to know all of this. I want to be able to, watch the scenery. And that why I'm telling you this is because it's a mindset thing. Again, I was perfectly content with learning. But what I did was I was confident enough to say to myself, it's great. I can get my license and no problem. I can do it. But I really don't want it. It's
the same thing too. You could fix the toilet, but you don't want to, right? There's things that you can do. But I think as long as you know that you can, and you're making a decision versus giving up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference in the way you're framing your brain. I know people who have a really hard time with tech, and the first thing they do is they want to try to figure it out and all of that kind of stuff. What's it worth? Is it worth spending a whole day trying to figure out how to do one thing, or is it worth picking up the phone and calling somebody who can either walk you through it or do it for you?
So the key is knowing that you can do it and believing in your abilities to do it. And so for all of you who have kids right now, they don't ever think about whether they can do it because they just check YouTube and they check Google and then they just do it. Like it doesn't enter their brain that they can't do something.
Well, it was interesting because one of the favorite quotes that I've seen it flies around Facebook every so often is the worst thing that you can tell your kid is that they can do something. You can do it because it never occurred to them that they couldn't.
No. Never.
And the first time I saw it, I went, what are they saying? And then the more I kept seeing it, because it flies around every so often, I'm like, oh my God, they're right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's okay, sweetie, you can do it. Well, of course I can. It never occurred to me that I couldn't.
Never. I remember, I'm going to embarrass my kid, but I remember when he was like 3 or something. I think it was 2 or 3, maybe 3. And he would just say these random things. And I would say, how do you know that? And he'd be like, I check those files in my brain and it's there. And I just used
what a great answer.
And I just used to let him go. And I'd be, oh, that's cool. You have a good filing system, right? Because I just let him play with it. But like it never occurred to him. Like he thought he knew. I remember him saying, I can do everything.
I love that.
And how do you know you can? Because I can. And that's really when we talk about having a success mindset, it's not a lot of, big rocket science here. It's just adopting the thought that you can do anything you want if you are willing to put in the time to do it. So, and if it's worth putting the time in to do. So remember, a success mindset can also be equally as important to be able to say, I'm not going to spend my time here. I'll let somebody else do it and I'll be even more successful, right? So I can do a lot of tech. I have no problem with tech. I can pretty much figure out anything. I don't want to do my podcast. Stacy is my producer. Stacy does all the podcasting pieces. I just show up and talk in the mic. That's what I want to do because it's better use for my time and she loves to do it. So
win-win.
Yeah. So you have to really think. So I don't know. I guess the question to you guys is what's holding you guys back? What do you think a success mindset is? And where do you think it's lacking?
Well, I think it was interesting when you, again, many years ago when we did your masterminds, when you had the program running, that was one of the first modules. And I think one of them was actually around money. Yeah. And I think it was called Money Mindset. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize at that time, and I think I've said this before, that I had an issue with my money mindset. So I think it's interesting that, and again, I wanted to fly over that stuff. I'm like, mindset, nah.
Yeah, everyone flies over.
I want to get to the fun stuff, but it's so necessary. And I think what you said right in the beginning was very interesting, where you have to understand what you have.
Right.
So I didn't know, so you can't change what you're not aware of. So it became when I went through it, and I took the time resistantly, but I went through it and I went, oh my goodness, that's my challenge. That was where I was blocking. So I couldn't change. You can't change what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Therefore, you can't change what you don't know. So as soon as I became aware of it and I went, oh, okay, boom. It was easy to move through because then I could just have a conversation about it because it came into my awareness. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on to process that. And so that goes with anything, are you limiting yourself? Think back, are you limiting yourself? And I think the only other piece of advice in regards to mindset that was one of the best was how fear of failure and fear of success are so similar.
Yeah.
And sometimes we self-sabotage our own success because we have fear of success. So as long as it doesn't happen, we don't have to get there.
Right.
So the same thing with money. I didn't have to deal with my money issues because I always had a job. They paid me for my service and it was fine. But as soon as I had to move forward being an entrepreneur, and that's why I was glad earlier on that I started to do some of those mindset-ish things through your mastermind, which was really good. So
it's not like we're not trying to, we're the only, I guess what I'm trying to get through is like, there's a lot of books and a lot of courses on mindset, but they're always telling you to move forward, right? Which is where you're supposed to go, but you can't, again, move forward until you identify that you actually have some issues, right?
What mindset do you have?
Yeah. Like that's the question. Like, do you even identify? Did you notice that you have a fixed mindset and you didn't even realize it? Because you might think that you're very progressive and want to move forward. But then when you start drilling down, you're like, well, why am I not? And then what comes out is the truth, right? And I'm not saying like, some people are very negative. Some people are thinking they're never going to be successful. it's not that you're bad. It's not that those are bad mindsets. You just need to, again, identify why you're thinking that you're not going to be successful. Because when you uncover that, it's so easy to move forward. The forward part's easy. It's being honest with yourself that's hard.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
That's fascinating because you always think, well, this is the minor thing and moving forward is the hard thing.
Yeah.
But you can't move forward until you identify.
No. In my mastermind, I think the first 10 modules, like there's like 50 modules you guys had to go through, right?
Well, it was a year.
It was a year.
And it was a module a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was approximately 52 modules.
Yeah.
That's a lot of modules to go through. And I have to admit in the beginning, I was frustrated.
Yeah. Because you're like, can we skip? Can we skip? And I'd be like, no, you have to do every week. And it was like very simple in the beginning, is understanding your whys and getting clarity and understanding, why you're procrastinating, what's holding you back. And it's all, again, I'm not a counselor. It was strictly from a business person's point of view. But once you identify all that and clear it up and get your, understand those methods you need to do to move forward, then it becomes really simple for you to implement. So if you keep saying, I don't have any tech skills.
Yeah.
I'm not good at tech. Then that's in your brain. That's all you're hearing. So if I say, okay, well, why? And then we start drilling it down and figuring out that really it's just because you're afraid and you don't want to look stupid. Then we're like, okay, that's good. So don't worry about looking stupid. Don't worry about being afraid, because that's everybody when they start, right?
Exactly.
And now you've identified it. There's nothing holding you back. So really, when I talked about the strategies that you needed for a successful mindset, is number one is identifying what you have right now and why, and then identifying what the best route is to move forward. So it's not, we're not saying that you're going to jump into it, but I don't know. When somebody asks me how I learned something, I usually just say, I just learned it on Google. Like, I don't really know why. And we do it all the time. We pass messages all the time. I'll go, look at this link. Look at this link. This is how you do it. And we try it. We're not scared, right? We just like, okay, well, if it doesn't work, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And people are afraid to click that button or whatever. But I think the biggest part was once I was able to move forward through those modules and focus on some of those strategies and identification. Then when it came time to have the business conversation, then when it had time to actually planning things out, because she's the strategist, then it was, oh, this is awesome. I have opportunities and I have potential and I have ideas and I have things I can work for. Then it became really exciting, as opposed to having that conversation. I'm like, well, that sounds really good in theory, but that ain't gonna happen.
You can't, right? So once you get rid of that, through when I teach, it's always like, no excuses, right? No excuses, just move forward, no excuses. And that's because we've already cleared the fact that, there's nothing holding you back. So you have to clear that all by yourself, right? Gave you the strategies, and the strategies.
You just click a button.
Pretty much, because all you have to say is why. If you want a clear understanding, is all you have to ask yourself is keep asking yourself the same question. Why, until you get to the reality of why you do something, right? So why are you afraid of financial success? And then just keep going down those questions. And eventually you realize that it might be something very, very simple. Maybe you're afraid of financial success because your parents weren't that successful and they struggled, and you don't want to look like, you somehow ended up better than them, and you're minimizing what they achieved. I don't know what it is, but the truth is you just need to know your whys of why you're acting or why your mindset is the way it is. Then you can be able to go, okay, but how many people have signed up for like an abundance mindset workshop or abundance meditation?
They're all out there. Yeah, there's a lot of meditations out there.
On abundance, which are great, but you can't it's not going to work for you until you figure out, where you are now before you can move forward. So does that make sense to everybody? Getting that? This is very, very simple mindset stuff, guys. I teach really in-depth stuff, but you don't need that. You just need to be able to identify and move forward.
So my question out there, so you guys can pop in the comments, is do you think that's something that you can do? Can you just stop maybe for a minute and start to think about why you have a specific, or what kind of,
maybe you're good.
Maybe you're good. And what kind of mindset do you have? And have you done some of that work? And where do you see yourself progressing. But if you don't, can you sit down and go, okay, why is this? And then when you answer that question, why? Answer that question, why? Is that something you guys think you can do?
Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting one for me is simply that, we've talked about what we do, which is Wisdom Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, Saturday Vibes. We ask you guys to post because I know a lot of you want to be out there and doing more, right? So a lot of you are like, oh, I wish I only had a strategy so that I could get myself out there. So we gave you one, right? A real simple one. And a lot of you said that you were really interested in doing it, but how many of you actually posted? Teresa has.
Yeah, she posts. Linda will post. Sometimes I've seen
Colin.
Yeah, Colin follows it. He has his own financial stuff.
Yeah.
That he's doing.
But the question is, so if you know you want to, and we've told you a schedule to do, so the question would be, why aren't you? Like, what is holding you back that mindset wise? What's holding you back? So I can't read.
Poor Teresa. Like, we're giving her a compliment and she goes, oh, forgot about Saturday Vibes. So close. That's okay,
Teresa. You were telling you were great.
You're rocking it. Okay. Honestly, like, you are the one, you're doing a video for Wisdom Wednesday. You're posting it in the group here. You're good.
You're good.
You're okay. Cause you know what? Things happen. And I think sometimes we need to forgive ourselves. So yesterday, Faye and I were very busy and things, and we were driving up here and kids' demands and et cetera, et cetera. And we got to the end of the day and we realized we did not do Podcast Sunday.
Right.
And you know what?
It was okay.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. Forgive yourself. It doesn't matter. So sometimes I think when we get into moving forward in little pieces and baby steps and all of that kind of stuff, and you try to put that routine in place and then you skip it, you go, oh, well, now I've forgotten that one. Do I even bother doing tomorrow? Right. Is it worth anything?
It's like diets, right? So
yeah, exactly. Like as soon as you hiccup one day.
And then you go, oh, I screwed it all.
So now I'm done. Throw it all in the garbage. I'm out of here.
So it's the same thing really with mindset, like as well. I mean, you might be good for a whole week. You're like, I think I can. Get to the
top of the hill.
And then, one thing threw you off. One thing. And then, somebody said something mean or somebody said something, well, I don't think you can do that. And then you just said, you're right. And then
the train goes downhill a little bit. But guess what? What goes down must come up.
Right.
So then you go up. And that's why I always love the visual, use the old one, path to success.
Yeah.
No, it goes like this, and it's all over the place. And you go up and you're down and you're in a boat, you're in a train, you're fishing one day. You're all over the place still. But the thing is that if you look where you were yesterday and you look at where you are today, or from A to Z, right? You've made progression even though you've had your ups and downs. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just a matter of, again, saying I'm okay with how it goes and how long it takes me, as long as I'm willing, again, to move forward, right? So don't know what that means for each and every one of you, but I would say, for today, your homework would be real simple. Is number one, try to identify what kind of mindset you have. And now number two is try to identify those pieces that you've not moved forward on because you thought you couldn't.
So Linda, who is the coach, she's actually is a coach. She said, instead of I think I can, is to change it to I know I can, I know I can, I know I can.
Okay. Good. That's great. So each of what you can identify, whatever
wording works for you in your brain, I think is the right one that keeps you moving forward. And it doesn't, that's, I think, what I love and hate about some of this stuff. I'll admit it. I'm not a big, I don't read a lot about this stuff. So I'm kind of on the back burner on this one. But I feel like everyone says that their formula works, their words work, their system works.
Right.
So you kind of look at that, but that's their opinion.
It's their opinion.
And I have different words and stuff like that work in my brain.
Right. And that we talk about that in some of the stuff, it's what works for you, but I'm not giving you a system here. I'm telling you just to identify, right?
And we're not telling you to go fishing.
No, identify what you think your mindset is and then understand where you need to do to move forward. So do I have systems? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have systems, but I don't want to do that because That's a bigger process. And that really is a commitment for you to understand. You want to go a little deeper. There's some really fascinating books and courses on mindset that can really, really help people. But at the very least, all we're trying to do is getting you to move forward in your business by identifying what's holding you back. And, sometimes it's real simple things, right? Like you might, for those of you not posting, it might be, I don't know how to do a graphic. But we told you how to do a graphic. And then we told you about Canva. That's free. I don't have time. But we told you just have to schedule a little bit of time into your plan to make it happen, right?
So let me see. I don't have time. We solved that. We don't have the ability. Well, Canva makes it easy.
Doesn't cost any money. It's free.
I don't have any money.
That's free.
So it's free.
So what's holding you back is something else. So if we've taken away all the objections, then you will understand that something else is holding you back. Maybe it's that you don't want to actually be seen, or you're afraid you'll be ridiculed, or you're afraid people will think you're crazy. I mean,
well, you know what? I've had people think I'm crazy all the time. So I have a really quick story, but basically Teresa's just summarizing by saying their formula works for them, not what works for you. But what you can do is adopt pieces of their systems or formulas or whatever. So I actually had a case where, I don't even know how many years ago now, 6, 7, 8, who knows, years ago. And I remember posting something, and literally like all the people that I respected started really putting it down. And it was one of my first ones actually on social media from a business perspective, which is completely different than what I'm doing now. Do you know I wanted to be a nutritionist?
No.
I'm saying it here live. I actually bought the course. I bought all the books.
You did?
I have all the textbooks. Yeah. I was going to actually work in a wellness center and be a nutritionist.
Oh, that's interesting.
So anyway, I put out a nutrition post. I know nothing. Anybody that knows me should be literally laughing right now, because that is not me.
Well, I did my eye roll. So.
Yeah. You did it really loud. But anyway, so I put out a nutrition post, and I got blasted by so many people. And my first instinct, of course, which is what I did, is I deleted it.
Yeah.
That was my first instinct, was make it go away. Therefore, it no longer has to exist. So I deleted the post, and I took a step back, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I questioned everything.
Yeah.
But then I realized that, number one, I looked at a whole bunch of things, and clearly I'm not a nutritionist. So that was my first decision. But I didn't let them, even though I deleted it so that I could then take a step back and make sure that what I wanted to do now, if it happened, which it still does, I get people disagreeing with stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if it happens, because I remember I put something out, I think it was actually LinkedIn related, and somebody disagreed with the post, and I went, well, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
And the difference in my mindset around the post from before was I was very new. I haven't even cracked open a textbook yet. Guess which one I opened first? The business.
Yeah.
Screw the rest of them.
Yeah.
So I took it down because I wasn't confident in my knowledge. But ones now, if they disagree with me in regards to a strategy or something to do with LinkedIn, I'm like, that's your opinion, because I know this works.
Right.
And I know this is right. Or somebody will, send me a direct message going, well, I've heard the opposite. What do you think here?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Different people have different opinions. So it's been interesting in regards to my growth and my mindset around how much that impacts me. And now it doesn't. Whereas before I freaked out and I clicked delete.
Well, even today, I mean, there's going to be people who teach mindset listening to this, and they're going to disagree with everything we said. And they're going to say, no, you must follow this specific system. You must start with positive. Don't look in your past. Like, a lot of people will disagree. We're just telling you what we think, and what we say works for us.
They might call you crazy.
They might call me crazy.
That's okay.
Or Casey. But it's okay. But I mean, the truth is, you have to, again, find your own path, but you have to know that you need a path.
So funny. So I find this very interesting. And what I'm going to show you what Teresa's just posted is it's happened.
You have to read it to me.
Everybody. Literally had someone read her book, which is a fantastic book, by the way, an email with every mistake they found.
Oh, I've had those too, Teresa.
What? Now, thankfully, this person actually turned around, and the next day, good for Teresa, she responded with a thank you.
Yeah.
no big deal. And then they read, she says, they read the book, and I thank for investing their time. But they, like, seriously?
I have a story, my email story. So I wrote an email, and it was, all my emails are always value driven. They're all about information. And as you guys know, I don't really care about spelling that much. I know all you editors there freak out, but I always care about the value. And so I wrote it, and it was a really, really good email. I got tons of positive feedback. And then I got one that sent me all the corrections and said, if you were professional, you wouldn't have these problems. You wouldn't have these errors. And so I wrote them back, and I said, how is the value in the article? Because I knew they never read it. They just looked for spelling mistakes. And I think that's what they do. There's people out there. This is my thought. They are in this tiny little basement, dark basement. And they scope out people to say bad, because that's all they have in life. Because if you were truly wanting to help, she could have said, or he, I don't even remember, could have said, hey, you had some errors, but the content was amazing. Do you need somebody to do editing for you or something, something that was helpful. But same thing back to Teresa, right? Like, what was the point of that? Yeah, it's a published book. Emailing you with every mistake they found, to me, makes it. I find people like that absolutely have a negative mindset, because it makes them feel better to make somebody else feel bad. Yeah, it's fascinating. And that's why I have clients. I don't love to edit people's work, and I don't edit. Just so you know, I'll never edit spelling. You know who's the best editor in the world? Is my mom. There you go. So she worked as I'll tell you a quick story because it makes up for the other one, apparently. She's already mad at me. She worked as a legal secretary back in the days of typewriters. Right. So if she spelled something incorrectly, she'd have to. Well, no, it was before whiteout. Oh, those ribbon things. I remember those. Oh my God. Well, she had to retype the whole thing. Oh. Right. And if it went to the courts, we're talking legal documents. If it went to the courts with a spelling mistake, it could get thrown out. Yeah. So she can spot spelling like crazy. She would have made the best editor. Yeah. So so I don't like editing for a different reason, because remember, grammatically everyone talks a little different. Yeah. I know there's correct grammar, but everyone talks a little different. So your eye roll's getting really loud. I know. I really try, but that's why I call myself. If you need to go back to Saturday's vibe on Post, she talks about the eye roll. Yeah. So Saturday, I told you guys, is all about owning who you are, right? And owning if you're sarcastic or you like, kind of bitchy quotes and stuff, which I love. So you can be yourself, but it's true. I mean, you have to understand that you need to know where you are and who you are. And if somebody else is holding you back because they slammed you or talked negatively about you, I mean, the best for me is my son, who's got, a zillion subscribers on YouTube. He had a ton of hate when he had 30,000 subscribers. He had a ton of negative comments. People were trash talking him all the time. Now that he's got 400,000 subscribers, everybody loves him. Not everybody, but most people love him. But you still get the negatives. You still get the negatives, and he does not. He completely ignores them. He's like, I don't care, because the only people that really are negative are people that, like I said, little. I don't know what to call them. I just picture them as little hobbits. That have nothing else to do than be negative. And so again, that's my mindset. My mindset, when I see a negative, my immediate reaction is, they're just little hobbits sitting in a basement. And then I just kind of laugh it off, right? But you know what? And that just goes back to your kids. So I remember my son, he's starting a YouTube channel, and he posts his opinions. Mm-hmm. It's about basketball, but he posts his opinions, and he's very passionate about it. And I remember one post that he made, he showed me all the negative comments and people were saying back, and I started to laugh. Yeah. Because I didn't want him to feel bad about it. And he started laughing. Then he started to laugh, and he goes, why are we laughing? I said, because these people are silly. Yeah. And maybe I should tell him a little Hobbit story. But I said, you know what? I said, but they're not putting you down. No. And even if they were, it'd be really funny. But it doesn't matter, because look at all these other comments. Yeah. And ignore comments. Yeah. So he likes it because he goes, but they read my stuff. So he's saying kind of exactly the same thing as Teresa. And Teresa might use this as an example for him. But it's like, you know what? You read my post. You disagree?
great.
Good. You read it at least. You know,
Yeah.
I love the people that say,
So
and I'm unsubscribing. Okay, good. Yay. Then I don't have to get your comment again. Right?
exactly. So Linda said there was another story of one that I had. It was actually really interesting. I think she got an email one time, Linda, about she was just letting people know about an event that was coming up, and the response back that she got was, as long as Stacy's not there, or it wasn't the Stacy show or something like that. So I could have reacted two ways. One was, what are they saying? But I reacted, what are they saying? Yeah, baby.
I think I put a post up a long time ago, and it was like, the neighbors are talking about me. I know I've made it.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? Because the more, and I actually did, there was a podcast that I did. I think it was Dana that was my guest at that point, and it was the more visibility that you get, unfortunately, you are opening yourself up for negative comments, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you know you're giving good value, you know your stuff, you know you're investing, and you know that you have a positive mindset,
Yeah.
that you know that you give good value. So the few people that are not agreeing with you, who cares? And again,
Yeah.
the more people that love you, unfortunately, this is just reality, the more people that are not going to love you. So I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I am here. I have arrived, because
That's right.
hate is going to hate and I don't care. So it
Yeah.
gave me actually more confidence, which
I
was
think-
kind of fun.
And I think if you question, like if you know you have value, we always talk about value. If you know that your product is valuable, that your information is valuable, and then somebody said something and you're starting to question it, you need to take a step back, right? Because I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And people have said, well, what's the value in what I'm doing? If you can't answer that question, then maybe you need to either decide, number one is are they right? Is there no value?
Yeah.
Or number two is, did you just allow those haters in to make you feel uncomfortable? Because most of the time, the haters are just jealous.
So is there a way to sum up in regards to mindset? Okay, so understanding where you are so that you can identify that and then you're able to move forward. So a lot of people talk about changing your mindset.
Yeah. And so
should you change,
it's not
or
really
is it just progression?
It's not changing. It's like, yeah, and I say that because my motto is always change a losing game. And it's a baseball phrase. It's like when you change the pitcher, right? If you're losing the game, and I'm such a sports person, right? When you change, but it was one of those.
You've got baseball analogies and fishing. I'm very confused today.
There was a doctor. His name is David Posen, and he wrote a book called Always Change a Losing Game. And I read it. I don't know how, in my 20s or something. And I don't really know the whole book, but I remember the title, and I always lived by the title.
Mm-hmm.
So if something wasn't working, change the game. So it's the same with mindset. It's not like you're completely changing. You're just, changing a little bit of a direction. Like you don't, like if the pitcher's not doing well, you don't, get rid of the whole team. You just change that pitcher to one other person. And that might change the whole game. So before you say, I have to change everything, you go, okay, what little tweak can I make to get a different outcome?
Well, and you know what? And that's a really good analogy, because I think when people hear change your mindset, you have to change everything.
No.
And I think that's where it gets very confusing for a lot of people. And to be honest, that's a lot of times what I thought for a long time. But again, I go back to my original story of the tweaking of the money mindset.
Yeah.
So that was the small part of the mindset that I had to tweak. I didn't have to change everything, because a lot of what I had was okay.
But the key was, why did you know to tweak it?
Because I was aware of it.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's really, so if you want to know, again, what you need to do is identify, become aware. Easiest way to do that, so I'm going to give you a very simple strategy, is pick something that you want to do and are not doing, and then start drilling down and understanding why you're not doing it. And then once you understand it, you'll be able to move forward. Some of it is like a lot of this they use in like weight loss and stuff now.
Yeah.
All the new ones are all about psychology, right? And they're trying to identify why you want to lose weight, right? You want to lose weight and you know how to eat healthy. So why aren't you? It's not as simple as, I like Fudgicles. It's not that easy. I don't know why I picked Fudgicles, but
I love bagels. That's my downfall. I have a bagel.
But there's not the rules.
You
So
have
what it
Fudgicles?
comes down to,
You have
I do have
Fudgicles.
Fudgicles. So
Fudgicle.
what it comes down to
Everyone's
is
having
just
Fudgicles now.
identify, so that the simplest way to be able to move forward with a positive and successful mindset is to identify your existing one, right? It's that simple. And if you really want to do something, you'll figure out what the steps are. And that's where strategy comes in, right? You break down the steps on how to get there, because even when you identify, if you say, I'm not posting, I finally realize I'm afraid to post because I don't know what people are going to say about me. Okay, great. You identified it. Now what's the next step?
Right. Now, can you, because there's different areas. So I think really it's almost checking in.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I did back in the day. I was like, okay, tech, check. Can do it, check. Can do it, attitude, check. I think I can, whatever it was,
Yeah.
I kind of went check, check, check until I found the one aspect that needed to be tweaked.
Yeah. So not hard. So share with us, guys, if you go back and do your own little research and try to share if you're not afraid. Remember, we're trying to get you guys to post.
Exactly.
If you try to share what it is that was holding you back, or what you think you identified as a mindset that wasn't working, and what you're doing to correct it, that makes all the difference. The reason a lot of challenges in groups work is because a lot of people share and then they're not afraid, right? Because there's other people. So you might be the first one to post, but that will help others feel comfortable with posting as well.
So tomorrow, believe it or not, in the category of mindset, there's tech tools.
Yeah. One that I use all the time.
Yeah. And one
that I use a lot too. Both of them.
Okay.
Both of them.
I don't know what they are right now, but we planned them out and I know it. But yes, there are tech tools in regards to mindset, and we're going to share those with you tomorrow. So same place, same bat channel, same bat time. Is that what they say?
Yep.
Okay.
Kapow.
So tomorrow at noon,
remember,
Tech
you guys
Tuesday.
Show.
So thank you for joining us. If you're in Canada on the holiday Monday, for those who are watching the replay, thank you so much for taking the time.
And for Stacey's mom, just make sure you download Gowan Criminal Minds.
Or Stacey's mom is a song too.
That's true.
So, but she said I made up for it with the typing.
There you go.
Typing story. So
See?
I'm good. I'm still in the family.
Yay! All right, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.